everyone, good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Where's my watch? So, so by right now we will have our practical session, but I haven't received any material for practical. So far, I only received the material for our lecture, this course. So I think instead of because no material at all, so I think I can proceed or we can proceed with chapter 2 lecture. So if the CC already sent me the material, we are going to do the practical for practical one next week. But before we start our class, I have an announcement. This one for repeat or is it? Yeah, this one is for your repeat or receipt registration. So you need to register your repeat or your receipt paper. If you have any paper that you repeat or you receipt. So no let registration for the repeat or receipt. If you have any paper you need to submit, submit. If you have any paper you need to register, you need to do so as soon as possible. Okay. So, um, oh, by the way, you guys are on semester 3, right? Is it semester 3? Some of you? Because I remember the transfer credit stuff last time. Semester 3, right? Yeah, second year semester. Correct. Okay, so I think we can start with our lecture for chapter 2, UI, user interface. Okay, so this one again, the mobile application development. When we want to develop a mobile application, not only on the at the back end, the operating system. If you remember this morning, I've explained few type of example of operating system like Android, iOS, Harmony OS. Okay, the UI is crucial too. UI is what the user see, what we code for the user, what we code for the user to see, the layout, the presentation of our application. This one, the UI is one of the crucial factor in our mobile application development. Yeah, it is one of the crucial factor which is important in the UI development. As you can see here, we have a notes here. This is your app's user interface is everything that the user can see and interact with. Like I said, this is how the system, this is how the application is going to deliver the information and interaction. Okay, interaction with human. Okay, how the system deliver, how the mobile application deliver the information to the user and how the user send or respond or interact with the system application. So here we have few example. Here we have this one we are going to see later. However, here we have button, checkbox button, radio button, toggle, fill, and slide bar. Okay, so this is a part of the UI in the mobile application development. So these are the objective, what we're going to see today, later in this course, in this topic. So first, explain the overview of user. So explain the overview of the UI. Okay, you should know or you should at least understand what is the, for example, the button just now. I mean the buttons just now. You need at least you should know by the end of this chapter. And then create UI containing common UI components. There are many UI components for mobile application, but there are some components which is very common in every mobile application. And then this is the term thread view binding. We're going to see what is view binding, data binding, style and themes. Style and themes is more formatting and styling of the mobile application, and the theme. Theme here is like for application, we can set for some application, we can set to, for example, dark theme. Okay, that's the example of theme. And then understand Jetpack Compose. Jetpack Compose is like tools they have their own library. So this is the objective of this course. I mean this chapter. So the first one, overview of UI. Okay, UI. So remember, I think it's quite easy. UI. Remember, UI is what we display to the user, how we send the information, and how the user react with the application. Okay, so here we have this example, overview of user interface. Okay, we have view group. Okay, view group also refers to layout. So allow you to nest one or more layout within another layout. Nest, that's mean um, nest, that means it can contain another, for example, under view group layout, you can contain another view group layout. And under view group layout, you have your single view. Okay, so the view objects are usually called widgets and can be one of many subclasses such as button or text view. Okay, they can be this one more or less like the parent and the child. Okay, so this one is the subclasses. The view here is the subclasses to this view group layout. And then, like I said just now, it is nested. Nested, that means the view group can contain another view group layout. Okay, so view group under view group. Next is a layout declaration. Okay, so XML is the coding, the programming, XML, and then the program. So if you read here, two ways to create the layout, the interface. Okay, for layout, layout is related to UI. Layout, what is the layout? How we display the information. So declare UI elements in XML, initiate layout elements at runtime. Okay, layout, presentation. Okay, so we're going to see this one first, overview of UI. Okay, so this one is the example of the interface, simple example of interface. Uh, Simple example of the interface. So Android provides a straightforward XML vocabulary that correspond to the view classes and subclasses, such as those for widgets and layout. So you can also use Android Studio's layout editor to build your XML layout using a drag and drop interface. Okay, before I go to this not here. Okay, it is mentioned here, Android Studio. Android Studio is a platform. Okay, Android Studio is a platform for us to write the code to develop these mobile applications. Android Studio is quite easy, actually, for a beginner like me. Okay, because they have this drag and drop function. Drag and drop function, that means they already have a library. Uh, they have something like a library. That means the function is already there. So if you want, for example, maybe, for example, this field, hello, I am a text view. Okay, so this one we call as a field. So this field, they already have it in the Android Studio. So we just need to drag and drop in our interface. This one is a button. So this field and this button is already in the Android Studio. We just need to drag and drop. But okay, even though it is a drag and drop, still you will see this kind of, it's not this kind of code, this code. Okay, however, you can edit. Okay, you can edit the code. Here, I'm not sure. Hmm. Okay, so this is the example of the code. Okay, so this one is the tag. This is what we call as a tag. Okay, so this is what we call as a text XML version 1.0 encoding. This one is the, I forgot what is this stand for, UTF add, but this is the tag. So this one is your main layout. Okay, so first for this part, I'm going to explain a bit because you're going to see this code in the next slide. So I'm going to explain this code a bit. So Android layout width and head. So this one you can edit, like I said, you can modify. Yeah, you can modify. Even though like this one I said you can drag and drop, but you can modify. So this one is the width, head, orientation. Orientation is vertical and horizontal or vertical or horizontal, and this one is the padding. Padding is like the space. Padding, for example, um, okay, for example this one, this field just now, this field is padding here is 10 dp, right? So if you increase, for example, from 10 to 20, maybe 20 dp, it will increase the space between this one, this line, and this field. Okay, so you can edit or you can modify the padding, the space. Okay, this one is the fill function. It's not fill function, the fill part. Okay, so if you want to edit this one, the way the head and the text, you can do so in this part. Same goes to the next button. Oh, sorry, same goes to this button. Okay, you can edit it here. Okay, so even though like I said it is a drag and drop function, you can edit the space, the style, it is vertical or horizontal, you can edit here. Usually, well, honestly, last time when I developed my mobile application, I did remember I used this Android Studio, but I didn't. When you use Android Studio, you don't have to write from scratch. That means you don't have to write from scratch. That means it's already there, but you need to know how to edit or how to play with the code. However, for small, can you guys hear me clearly? Because I keep on
Can
my my headphone. Oh, it's okay. So, oh, just now I said, last time when I developed my own mobile application, I use this Android Studio. Okay, actually, it's quite easy. For a beginner, it's okay as long as you know how to do the editing part in this coding here. But for basic function, for common function, then Android Studio is okay to use. Okay, so yeah, even though, okay, let's say you want to add any function, anything that is not provided in the Android Studio, you still can get the code and you still can pass into the console, and then you may edit your own function. Next is attribute. Attribute is like the element. Okay, attribute is like the element. So here we have an example attribute. Okay, but when the app is compiled, this ID is referenced as an integer, but the ID is typically assigned in the layout XML file as a string in the ID attribute. So you are able to create a reference to a view in program code using the ID attribute. Okay, so you have this ID. So in the layout file, like I said, wait, what I said is now, what is layout? I said if it is layout, then it is the what? What is layout? I said this now. I mentioned layout is the what? What chapter is this? Layout is the interface, what we want to present. So layout is, yeah, layout is the interface. So we have this file, which is layout file. Okay, remember layout, interface, what we show to the user or how the user interact with the application. So here we have button. Button is the button. Okay, so this is the ID. okay, to uniquely identify a view within a tree, how they are going to return display. So in the program file, value my button find view button ID, and this is how they are going to look for that ID. So here, this is the function. Method is used to look for a view. The R is a class representing all resources added to a project. Okay, so remember they have an ID uniquely. It's like unique ID. Next is size, padding, and margin. Size. Padding, like I said, padding is a space between maybe from the header and the fill, and margin. So unit of measurement for size, padding, and margin is density independent pixel in dp. This is the unit. So 10 dp. Oh, we have example here: 10 dp, 20 dp, 0 dp. So in this example, the padding, the space on the left, top, right, and bottom part of layout. Like I said, padding, remember, space. So, hmm, okay. So this one is the linear layout XML Android. This one is the match parent vertical, the style, and this one is the padding. So yeah, padding. As you see, the different, like I said, space, right? So here they reduce from 10 dp to 0 dp. So you see they have like, okay, 10 0 to 0 dp. They reduce the space, so it become closer. If you increase, then this field, hello I am text view, will become mm, not as close as this. Okay, the dp is the padding. Okay, still in the attribute layout parameters, example, weight and height. I think this is the term weight and height is straightforward. So XML layout attribute name layout, something define layout parameters for the view that appropriate for the view group in which it resides. Wrap content tells your view to size itself to the dimension required by its content. So match parent tells you, okay, this one is the weight and the height and the wrap, sorry, yeah, weight, wrap content, as mentioned here, wrap content, so that they edit, yeah, they edit the size to the dimension. Okay, here, dimension required by its content. This one is the different. Okay, wrap content, it will become like this, and then match parent, it will follow the parent view. This one is on the button, because it's that here, Android ID button hello. This is the name of the button. Okay, the name of the button, not the details that they reflect in the button. The details is here, the text. Okay, the text. The button ID is the button hello. Okay, so here match parent and here wrap content. So next is view group. Okay, view group. So here is, wait, I have something. Okay, for view group, remember in the hierarchies tree just now, hierarchies chart just now, view group, they contain view, single view. However, view group, remember they are nested. That means view group can still contain another view group. However, view group will contain the view. Okay, so loading layout for XML. So here is the example on how to load a layout file. Okay, layout main layout. This is how they are going to load the file. Instance bundle super on create save instance. This one. Yeah, this is on the third line here. Line number 3 is how they are going to load a layout file. Okay, this is a common view group, the layout. This is the example. Nowadays, not only on mobile application, software too. Okay, if you notice, last time for last pattern, it's not last pattern. Last time the pattern is almost similar. For example, if we go to, okay, let's say I have this one mobile application. I developed this one mobile application. It's not pattern, layout. Yeah, the layout for last time is when we go to that mobile, for example, when we want to go to the home page, they only have one static home page. That means you cannot scroll to the bottom. You cannot scroll. That means that there are only one page for the home page. Nowadays, there are many type of layout. Here is linear layout. Okay, linear layout, constraint layout, and web view. Okay, web view, of course, HTML. So this is the common view group, the layout, how they are going to present. Okay, for linear layout, we can have two, vertical or horizontal. Vertical, that means the user the content can be scrolled to the bottom. And horizontal is like you can swipe. So a layout that organizes its children into a single horizontal or vertical row. So it creates a scroll bar. Yeah, the scroll bar, if the length of the window exceeds the length of the screen. This is what I said just now. Last time, it's static. The landing page, only one page. So nowadays, you can scroll. We have this scroll bar function. It's either you scroll to the bottom or you may scroll for horizontal. It's either left or right. But usually people will go with this one, vertical linear layout. This pattern actually, vertical linear layout, not only for mobile application, like I said, for website too. Okay, it's a dynamic pattern. It is not static. Last time, yes, it is static. That means you need, if you want to go to another page, you need to click uh, a button, it's not a button, a bar. Yeah, a bar. Nowadays, if you, for example, if you want to go to another page, you maybe just scroll. Next is static content. Okay. Constraint layout allows you to create large and complex layout with a flat view hierarchy, no nested view group. All views are laid out according to relationship between sibling view and parent layout. Constraint layout. Okay. Constraint layout. This one is under static content. We have different one which is dynamic content. That one is what we're going to see later. Static, that means it is fixed, static. Okay, there's no change in the content. Yeah, there's no change in one patch in the content. It is different with this one. Okay, adapter. Oh, sorry, view group dynamic content. For dynamic content, the content can change. Okay, it is different with static. And then we have this term adapter. Yeah, adapter. What is adapter? Adapter is the component. Yeah, it is a layout that manages a small or single element of component. So here, when the content for your layout is dynamic or not predetermined, you can use a layout, the subclasses, which is the adapter view to populate the layout views at a runtime. Okay, adapter. Remember, adapter is layout that manage to arrange the individual element. So here we have list view, and this one is a grid view. Okay, for small data set, list view and a grid view. This is all about the layout, the presentation of the data. It's not the data, not necessarily a data. It can be information too. Data information is not same. Okay, so this one is still under dynamic content. So layout with an adapter for a small data. So this one is to create or to, this one is the, okay, this one is the list view with using adapter. So this adapter can create this array. an array adapter is instance is created. Okay, array is a collection of an element. So this is the example. So by default, array adapter creates a view for each array item by calling string on each item and replace contents in a text view. Okay, so this one is the example of an adapter. This one is the element, the item under the string array. And so assign an adapter instance to a list view to form a link. Okay, from the function of adapter is actually to manage or to arrange a single element or small element, single or small, individual element. Yeah, to arrange an individual element. So that is the function of an adapter. So still, this is the example, assign an adapter instance to a list view to form a link. Okay, so this one is value, value my string array, array of, this one is the item under the array. And then adapter, this Android layout, this one, if you remember in the previous slide just now, this one is a function. So this one simple is item. Okay, this is the code on how to use the adapter. To display. Okay, this one, I want to highlight this part. Okay, listen view dot on item click listener. Okay, so here as you can see, do something in response to the click. That's mean do something in response to the click. That's mean when the user interact, maybe interact in terms of they click on a button, they are going to respond. Maybe they are going to change the layout or return any result. Okay, this one, listener, on item click listener. Okay, an item click listener, that means this function is going to respond something to the user. This one is the YouTube and Google Play. This is a mobile application. So I want to ask you guys, what layout is this? This one is related to the, I mentioned something just now. This one you can scroll to the bottom, and this one you can slide actually to the left. So what layout is this? I remember I mentioned this one just now. So what layout is this? Anyone? This one is YouTube and this one is Google Play. For YouTube, we can scroll to the bottom. Linear. Other than linear. Horizontal, vertical, anything? It is actually under linear. But the question is two different. Yes, linear. However, under linear, we have vertical and horizontal, right? So for YouTube, this one is vertical. That means we can scroll to the bottom. For this one, Google Play, yes, we can scroll to the bottom. However, this one actually is vertical. This one is a horizontal pattern. Okay, we can slide this one. Okay. So that's a pattern that actually when you want to design a mobile application, you need to know which, it is very important, which um, which layout is important. For YouTube, this one, it's straightforward. But for this one, actually, for example, this Google Play, actually they have two. For this Google Play, you can scroll to the bottom and you have this sidebar. Okay, you can scroll to the left. They combine two actually. But I think the size for this one, for this Google Play, the sidebar to left and right is bigger than the vertical part. Okay, so this one is vertical, this one is horizontal, linear. Okay, up to this stage, is there any question?
No.
Okay, next is improving layout performance. Layout performance. What is layout performance? So we're going to see in this part. So optimize the layout hierarchy, the level. Okay, reuse layout with this tag, include tag. So the function of this, usually you can see this in HTML. I think you can see this too, the XML. Okay, so this include tag is used to include another resources to the current page. Yeah, include another resources to the current page. And then next is loading view on demand. Okay, we are going to see the first one. So optimize layout hierarchy. So which layout better in terms of performance? This one is very general. This one is very general actually. Okay, so next is reusing layout with include tag. Like I said, the function of this include tag or include tag function is to include another resource to the current page. Okay, for example, this this layout here. Okay, include layout B. Okay, like I said, include tag. We include the resource to the current page. So in layout A, I want to include this layout B. So I need to use this include tag function. So here in layout A, I state this one, include layout B. That means I'm going to include this layout into this layout B into layout A. Okay, remember include is to import. Import, is it suitable? Import, yeah. Import other resources to the current page. Okay. So this is the example. This code is referring to the layout B. Okay, layout B. So Android button. So here we have from this one, from this button, sorry, from this code, I know layout B have two button. Okay, why? Because it's stuck here. So I have two button in layout B. So I want to call this function. Can I say function? I want to call this element. Yeah, I want to call this element into the layout A. So I just need to include the tag. I don't have to rewrite. Oh, sorry. I don't have to write the code for layout A. Instead, I just call include tag for layout B because layout B is already here. They have two buttons and I want to call them to layout A. For example, if I have two page, I want to call this layout B to layout A. So whatever I have in B, I can import, I can include in layout A using this include tag, but tag function. It's stated here, reusing. That means you just reuse. You don't have to write from scratch. Recycle. Okay, so here we have loading view on demand, loading large data set. By the way, if you use Android Studio, this is the view that you're going to see together with this smartphone here. Okay, this is the view that you're going to see. So here we have recycler view. What's recycler view? Recycler view. Recycler view, it is related with the view group. But wait, recycler view, it's the view group. Okay, recycler view is related to the recycler group, which is it is content, a view group contains the views corresponding to the data. Okay, so this one is the recycler view. Next, okay, so here we have list view and recycler view. We're going to see this in next page. So first we are going to list view. Okay, so all records are loaded to the list view. Okay, so this is the record. Okay, actually, behind, it's not behind, in the data, in the data set, we have this record. Okay, however, if we go to, or if we set to the list view, we can only see this set of data. Okay, it is same with this one, recycle view. Load records that are visible to the user using view holder. View holder is another term. View holder is used to describe, sorry, not here, no. So view group is the used to describe an item view and metadata about its place. Okay, view holder used to describe the item view and the metadata about its place. So load records that are visible to the user using view holder. Okay, so when an item scroll off the screen, the items view are recycled. That means the items fill with new content that scroll onto the screen. Okay, recycle. Item scroll off. That means it is no longer scroll off. That means the data is changed, dynamic. So the item the view are recycled. It's like, yeah, the term here recycle. So the item filled with a new content that scroll onto the screen, like I mentioned just now, dynamic view. Your view, the content of the screen is changed. So that means they're going to fill with a new data. It's like your, in your phone, it's like your contact list. Contact list. Yeah, it's like the contact list. Okay, once you scroll, it's going to recycle the data. It's going to fill with a new data, with new content, with a new contact list in your phone. Okay. Next is still under recycler view. So recycler view is the view group that contains the various corresponding to your data. So it is a view itself. So you add recycle view into your layout the way you would add any other UI element. Okay. Recycler is hard to pronounce. Recycler view. Remember, it's going to replace your data. It's going to replace your layout. Just take your contact as an example. I think that's the easiest example. Once you already scroll, it's going to fill with a new information. It's going to fill with a new data. Okay, so that is recycler view. This one is that, yeah. This one is recycler view. So this use an adapter. Adapter in the previous slide just now, I mentioned adapter. What is the function of adapter? So it is to manage a single element, individual element. Okay, so here we have view group, view, and data. So this tree is under recycler view. Okay, object, recycle view, with view holder, and adapter. So adapter to arrange the individual element. Next is another example of layout, which is cut dash layout. This one is quite, I won't say easy, but this one is quite straightforward actually. Cut dash layout. Okay, cut dash layout. What is cut dash layout? That means when the design, this application is designed based on cut method. Cut, that means it is in rectangle. Yeah, cut, they use the rectangle concept in designing. Okay, as you see here, this is our interface. Okay, they design in rectangle shape, which is the cut best layout. So they show the information inside the cut. Okay, like I said, in rectangle, based on the rectangle shape layout. Okay, so they're going to show, display any information in the cut. So consistent look across different platform. Okay, consistent look because they stick to this layout. Consistent look, that means, yeah, they stick to this one layout, which is cut best layout. Uh, but however, this one, for this one is quite easy to write the coding. However, this one can makes your apps quite boring because here consistent loop. They have this consistent loop. That means, but sometimes for some application, this is very useful, especially when you want to highlight your, it's not highlight, when you want to share your data, it's easy to look at the data. For example, here. So, kangaroo. Yeah, they show the information inside the card. This one is easy to understand for the user, for the end user. However, this can be boring too. Okay, so this one is the review question. Okay, since we are here, actually, if you notice since chapter 1, and I notice up to this chapter 2 and other chapter, they have many review questions. So since we have no tutorial, what I want you to do is, instead, yeah, we have no tutorial class, but I want you to do the review question. So you need to, yeah, we will discuss this review question in the next class. For example, just now, this morning, chapter 1, we have few slides where we have the review question. So you need to try to answer the review question. And then in the next chapter 2, you're going to do this review question and we're going to discuss in the next class. So for all the review questions, I'm going to discuss in class, okay, before we start our lecture. So we have two chapters already, chapter 1 and chapter 2, and I expect next lecture to discuss the review questions. Actually, because I tried to do the review question, if you are, I won't say the term lazy, if you don't want to go back to your lecture note, if you don't want to scroll in which part of your lecture note, actually, if you make Google actually, and I think you can get more or less the same answer. For example, basic object, this one, okay? You make Google because you can get more or less the same answer. Okay, so this revision, I let you guys to do same with chapter 1 and I expect we can discuss the answer in our next class. Okay, so next is common UI component. Okay, what is component? Component is the part on our interface. Okay, we have few example part in our interface. So here, no. So Android Studio places UI components into main group. So the legacy group contains grid layout, list view, tab host, relative layout, and grid view, which have been replaced by more effective components. Yes, here Android Studio actually, many people use Android Studio because, like I said, the function drag and drop. Okay, drag and drop. That means you don't have to write from scratch. Last time, when the first time I use Android Studio, it's not, I won't say it's not that hard, but yeah, it is okay for a beginner. Okay, so here we have these UI components, which is text, the button, widgets, layout, containers, helpers, Google, and legacy. Okay, so this is the UI component. So this is the example of UI component. Okay, like I said, since you are enrolled to this class, at least you should know basic. To be honest, I do not know all of the components because there are many, but this one is the most common one. So we have button. Okay, button where I think we have example just now, button, and then text field. Okay, this way, this component, this component is one of the common method or common way how to get input from the user. Okay, text field. And this one is sigbar. Sigbar is we can, what's it, scroll? It's not scroll. Sigbar is for, yeah, we can click on this button and you can, it's like edit. Yeah. And then this one is a checkbox. Okay, checkbox and radio button is two different things. Okay, you may see this one almost the same. However, checkbox is different, radio button is different. Okay, but it's actually depends on how we want to set the function or what is the function that we want to set. However, checkbox and radio button is different. This one is we call as on off button is a toggle bar, and this one is a drop down button and then button, drop down button. Okay, we can set the value for each of these data here of each of these element drop down button. Actually, for drop down button, mm, no, I want to give an example, but I think that one is too complex. However, for a drop down button here, you can say sometimes, okay, for example, drop down button for country. Yeah, country, we have many country, right? You don't have to key in, for example, start from A to Z. I'm not sure how many country, but you don't have to key in one by one. They have a code which already provided. So you just need to implement that code. So all country will be displayed. But that one is too complex, I think. Okay, so let's start with button first. Okay, button. How to know what element is used in our, this one at the back end, how to use or how to know which element that we use in our code is of course this one is quite straightforward. Okay, button, so I know this one is the element button. So apk is the file, and then the id button send rep content, this one is the layout, rep content and then text is string button send. Okay, so this is the value. This one is the one I mentioned just now. Set and click listener. Do something in response to the button click. Okay. So this one is the example of button. Actually, when you want to develop a, let's say you want to use this function to create a button, you just copy paste this function into your code and then you just edit. Like I said, for Android Studio, you don't have to write from scratch. They're going to provide you at least basic code you can edit. Okay, so this one two is a button Android. I didn't almost the same with the one just now, except for this line. Okay, Android on click, send message, view. Okay, this one is all code. Next is text fill. What is text fill? Just now in patch number 35, I said this one is one of the common way for the user to interact. That means they send information. The mobile application get data from the user is using this text field. This text field, and of course, text field we have multiple. We can key in alphanumeric, character, or numbers. Okay, that one is based on what we set at the text. So this one is the layout. Input type text email address. This one not necessary text email address. For text field, not necessary text email address. Okay, it can be any input that you want, sorry, that the application want from the user. So like I said, we have few types. So here it's only text. That means you only get the text input from the user. This one with a character. For a character too, we can set. Okay, for a character too, because we have many character, right? So for email, maybe if you want to set to this value, you can set this one. This one is alpha numeric. That's mean you, for phone number, here is, for phone number, of course, they're going to receive only number, but you can set to alphanumeric. That's mean you can set to both number and alphabet. Okay, so this is the text field. Next is checkbox. Checkbox is the one almost same with radio button, but checkbox is a checkbox. Checkbox in the shape, radio button is a circle shape. So here the name checkbox set on click listener. That's mean when the user click on any of the checkbox, they are going to return something. Okay. View click on listener. So this still checkbox function. So this one is the code view on click listener. So this set on click listener, like I said, set on click listener instance to call back or invoke something when it is clicked. Same with this one. Okay. Next is radio button. Radio button, like I said, radio button almost the same. However, radio button is different. Okay, so for element, if you notice in the previous source code, uh, yeah, in the previous code, you can tell what element is by looking at this one. This one is radio button. This one is checkbox. This one checkbox two, and then the field just now. Okay, you may know what element they use without executing it by the name of the tag. Okay, this one is radio button. So encoding, this one is the body, this one is the radio button function. Okay, so as you can see here, you have two radio button, pirates and ninja. Pirates and ninja. So you have these two body here. And of course, if you have, you need to declare, so you need to write for, you need to have two part for each of the button. Okay, they not come together. Each for each part, for example, like I said, you can always edit. So if you want to have the third one, you just copy and you just pass it down here and you may edit. Okay, you may edit this Android text and this function. No, only this one, Android text. So up to this element, is there any question? Menu.
No.
What is menu ratio?
Oh, it's a drop-down menu just now.
Oh, or the drop down. Yeah, the drop down menu or the drop down button. So before I continue, can we have a break and start at 10 p.m.? Can we have 10 minute, 12 minute break and start at 2:10 p.m.? Okay, thank you. So let's stop here and we will continue at 2:10 p.m. See you. Hey everyone. So can I start? Can we start? I think yes. So
Okay.
just now, thank you. Just now before our break, uh, we stopped at radio button. Yeah, we stopped at radio button. So now let's proceed with spinners. What is spinners? Spinners provide a quick way to select one value from a set. This one is like the drop down menu, drop down button just now. So by default, a spinner shows its currently selected value. Display a drop down menu with all other available values. For example, if they ask you to select a country, if for some application, for some mobile application, it is set as default. For example, country, it will go to the default country for us, Malaysia. Okay, but of course they will display. You can click on this button, this drop down button, to display all other value in the menu, drop down menu. Okay, spinners, they have value. For example, this one, for example, this one, we have one, two, three, four value only, right? So it's okay for us to write, to declare one by one. But for example, like country, we have, I'm not sure how many countries, there's a lot of countries. So of course, there's a method, there's a code for us to set the value, to set the value. That's mean we don't have to include or to write one by one. Okay, so this one is the example spinner. Okay, so create a string array. Resources string array, planets array. So this one is the item. Like I said, if one, two item, like the previous example, you have three or four just now. So you can select, sorry, you can stack like this one. But if there's a lot, of course, you can do so. That's a manual way, but there's a code where you can uh plug in all the data, the value. Okay, string resources, array adapter, and the spinner. That's when you're going to apply the string resources and array into array adapter and into the spinner. So this one is on how to set the adapter. So again, the function of adapter, still the same. The concept is to arrange, right? Manage, manage and arrange the individual element. Okay, so here value spinner, create an array, string array, and default spinner layout. This one is a command and file adapter command. Okay, so here adapter set drop down view resource to this item. Okay, apply the adapter to the spinner adapter. Okay, that's mean the applied adapter into the spinner. And then responding to selection. Okay, responding to selection, that's mean when we receive, sorry, when the application receive input, okay, from the item, when the user already select the item. So activity, this one, override function. Okay, this one in on how you write, sorry, this one is the example on how to respond to the selection in spinner. So we need to, sorry, so we need to, first we need to set on how we want to display, how we want to, it's not written, how we want to display the drop down. And then second is once the user already, or once the user already select the menu, the data in one on of the drop down. Okay, respond to the selection. So this is a review question. So why it is important that you specify the input type for each text field in your app. Like I said, I think I explained this one. It's not in the lecture note, but I think I explained that text field, right? For text field, we have field. The one I mentioned about the character, numeric, and alphanumeric just now. So it is important. It's not in the lecture note. So I repeat again, it is important because we need to get the correct input from the user. For example, the email address just now, the email address. We need to set the email address character. We only will receive the at and dot and underscore. Okay, only few character can be used for email address. They cannot use any, we cannot set to receive to any character. Okay, so it is important. So what is the purpose of adapter in a spinner? Adapter again, adapter is to manage, yeah, to manage the arrangement of the individual element. Okay, so that's the example of answer or explanation for this review question. However, you still need to do this question. Next is view binding. What is view binding? So view binding is a feature here. View binding is a feature that allow you to more easily write code and interact with the views. So once view binding is enabled in a module, it's generate binding class for each XML layout file present in that module. An instance of a binding class contains direct reference to all view that have an ID corresponding layout. So view binding, it is a feature step here. Okay, it is a function so that we can easily write the code to interact with the view. Okay, so we have two, if I'm not mistaken, view binding and data binding. Data binding is later. So now is view binding. So it is easy for us to write the code to interact with the view. So we have traditional and view binding. And then private let integer. This one is for checkbox. Okay, to bind. Not to bind, to interact with the view. And then this one is the example of view binding. So like I said, we have two, view binding and, oh no, this one is binding class, not data binding, sorry, binding class to the layout. So it is easily interact with the view. Okay, so this one is a method on how to do the view binding. Okay, we need to set. Okay, step one, enable view binding in build render. Okay, enable view binding. That's mean we need to allow this function. Okay, so this one is like, mm, I think I asked in one of my class. I don't remember if it's your class. This one is like enable. So for enable, we have two value, which is true or false. It's like a Boolean. It's like, yeah, true or false. So if you want to enable, you need to set this value to true. Even though you already write here, this code 1, 2, 3, this line of code, if you don't set this value, if you don't enable this one, they won't perform, they won't do the view binding function. Okay, so you need to set this one to true. Enable, you need to enable the view binding. Next is assign a unique ID to each view. Okay, unique ID, that's mean it's a unique ID. So layout name, register activity. Okay, so maybe layout name, this one is for registration page. So register activity binding class. So you need to assign a unique ID to each view. If you notice, even in our previous sample of source code, we have this Android ID. Okay, this one, okay, we have text view first. text view. We have text view, Android ID. So this one is the unique ID. And then image view through, and then button, Android ID. So we have two elements here, text view and button. Button. It's not text view. Text field, sorry. Text field and button. So this one is the unique ID for each of these two elements. So you need to assign a unique ID to each view. Next, the third one is step up an instance of the binding class. Register activity binding override bundle super on thread. Okay, you need to set up an instance. So you need to set up at here. Okay, so binding, register activity binding, because this is the process. What's the name of the patch? Register activity. So this one is the binding. Okay, set up an instance of the binding classes. So view binding root view. Okay, set up an instance of the binding class. So that is the three step. First, enable this one. You need to set to true value. You need to set the value to true. Second is you need to have this ID, unique ID for each of the views. So for text view here, I have one here, and then button here, button, I have one button. I have one unique ID for button. Next is instance. Set up instance of the binding class. Okay, so that are the three method on how to do the view binding. Okay, so remember view binding is to allow us to write or easily write the code to interact with the view. Next is the advantage of view binding. Okay, we have two, null safety and type safety. Okay, null safety and type safety. Okay, no, I want to ask you, what is the unique, um, okay, for null safety here, for this code, what is the unique ID, or no, which line is the unique ID of this field text view? Here too on the button, which line of code, which number line of code is the unique ID of the view? Which line of code? Two. Yes, thank you. Two. It is on the second line of code. Here. Okay, you check back on previous slide. Okay, so we have this unique ID. So it is for null safety, and second we have type, what is this? Type safety. Okay, so this one is for the purpose of null safety. That means the null is no, for null is not a value. Null, that means it is empty. Okay, it is empty. That means they're going to secure that this is going to be the empty value. Okay, type safety. What is this? Name one, send. Null safety, that's mean no value. Type safety. No button, Android, local, proper. What is this? I'm not sure what is this type. I'm not sure why it is here. Type safety. I don't understand. But now safety, that's mean for some field, usually if you are familiar with any field or form, yeah, field form, form. So in form we have a field. So sometimes you are not allowed to fill that field. Okay, it is a null because they won't receive any input from the user. Usually they will turn the field into gray. Usually it will be into gray. That is null safety. This one I'm not sure what is type safety. Yeah. Okay. So this one is a review question again. So view binding is a better way to handle work with the view both in terms of safety and speed. Comment of this statement. Safety, yes, just now. Speed, this one we need to see. You need to see, okay? So review question. Actually, I don't understand how they relate with speed. Okay. View binding, code easily. Okay, so this one we are going to do, we're going to see. Actually, I'm not sure in terms of speed. In terms of safety, yes, but in terms of speed, because view binding is for easily code to interact with the view. I'm not sure. Okay, we're going to see this in our discussion for the review question. Okay, next is data binding. Like I said just now, we have data binding. So data binding is a process where we establish a connection between the app UI. Okay, data binding is a process where we establish a connection between the app UI. So data binding UI components in a layout to data source using a declarative format. So data binding library is a support library that allows you to bind UI components in your layout to data source in your app using a declarative format rather than programmatically. So this will make your program simpler and easier to maintain. This one is in terms of your coding. Yeah, the program set here. The the coding. Okay, so data binding, remember, it is a process to establish connection between the app UI. Okay, so bind UI components in a layout to data source using declarative format, layout and data source to establish a connection between the app UI. So here I think we have three. Oh. So here is the step on how to do the data binding. Just now we have three for view. So now the first step for data binding also the same. You need to set, you need to enable this data binding. How is by this value? Set this to true. Okay, the data binding library is a support library that allows you to bind UI components in your layout to data source in your app using declarative format rather than programmatically. Okay, so for example, if you set this value to false, because we have two value, true or false, I want to ask your opinion. If I set this value to false, what will happen? Will it return, will your compiler return any error, or what will happen? What do you think if I set this true value to false? Okay, so for this kind of, okay, so referring to this question, so for this enable data binding, like I said, we have two value, true and false. Okay, like I said, if we, what happened if I set to false? First thing first, nothing will happen if I set to false. It won't return any error, any syntax error. Why? Because the value is true. True or false is a value. It's just that we want to enable or disable. So in any function in programming, if you, not necessary for this particular code, okay, if you want to set to true or false, both are true. Okay, the difference is only the result. If even, for example, if you want to write false, it won't return any error. Okay, however, if you set this one, for example, to false, then you won't enable. That's the difference, the result. However, it won't return any error. So this one, you need to set to true. If you set to false, then this step, you want, it will be disabled, the data binding. Okay, they won't return any error if you set to false. Next is create a data class. Okay, and you need to, here as I can see, they declare the variable. Okay, so you need to create Okay, you need to create your data class. 3, change the layout. Okay, file to be used. Oh, sorry, change layout file to be usable with data binding. Okay, so this one is the file of the layout, and this one too. Okay, if you remember this morning, if I'm not mistaken, I mentioned about APK. But I remember I mentioned about APK. So if you see this one dot APK, you know this one is the file for a mobile application. Dot APK. Yeah. So change the layout file to be usable with data binding. Next is step number 4. Next is step number 4 is okay, data binding. Step number 4, cut the namespace declaration from linear layout to the layout tag to the tag. Okay, cut the namespace. So you need to remove the namespace. So here we have declaration to what's the difference? Layout tag. Layout tag is this one. Cut the namespace declaration from linear layout. Oh, they remove this one, namespace declaration to the layout tag. To layout tag. Oh, okay. Linear layout from this one. Yeah. From linear layout to the layout tag. Okay, the difference is this one, linear layout, as you see this one, linear layout tag, and then you remove into under this layout tag. There is a difference. First, this one is under linear layout tag, under this part, under this body. And then next, you cut out, you remove into this one, layout, before the linear layout. Yeah, you move into before the linear layout tag. Okay, so that one is step number 4. And then step number 5, insert a data element into the layout. You insert your data. So here is your layout just now. After you already cut this one just now, you already move into the layout, insert a data element. Okay, into the layout. That is, I think, yeah, that should be the last step. The process that the connection between the API. Yeah, that is the last step. So insert the data element after you already cut out from the tag. Next is, oh, I thought they only have 5 steps. This one, update, binding. Also, we have step number 6, which is update. In my note, I only have 5 steps here. So sorry, we have step number 6, update view attribute to bind data. Okay, view attribute. What is the attribute? So here, you already have this one. Okay, this one is the layout just now that you already insert with the element. So now here is the view attribute. Okay, attribute, the element that you want to insert, you want to update. So here, Android text under this one, under linear layout, text view. So here they use two text view, two field. Yeah, two field for this one. Update view attribute. Okay, they are going to update this ID. This one is field. Next is binding data to an activity. So override binding. This is the process they are going to bind the activity. I thought they only have 5 steps, but up to 7. So this one is the last process where they're going to bind to an activity. Okay, this process. Okay, so up to step number 7, binding data to an activity. Okay, so that are the 7 steps. So, reviewed question, why is data binding preferred over the conventional ways, traditional ways? And among view binding and data binding, which method is easier to use, faster to compile, and easier to maintain? So, like I said, just now we have two types, which is view binding and data binding. View binding, oh, view binding is a process to it is a way so that we can easily write the code to interact with the view. That one is view binding, and data binding is a process to establish a connection between the app UI. So we have two methods, and this is the factor that we need to see. Okay, which one between these two is easier to use, faster to compile, easier to maintain? Actually, if you ask me, I'll go with the first one, view binding, because it's easier to maintain. Next is style and theme. Okay, what is style and theme? Style is style. Theme, like I said, for mobile application, we have few themes. Usually, we only have two. I'm not sure if we have any recent theme, but usually we will have two. Okay, style and theme. But not all mobile application is developed into these two theme. Yeah, the dark mode theme and this light mode. Okay, resource to change appearance of an app. For style and theme, usually they want for style and theme, usually okay, for style, it will change. Sometimes it will change the appearance. Oh, it's stated here. For style, it will change the appearance of the app. For the themes, usually it will only change like the colors of the application. Okay. So here is the example of style and theme, dark material theme, and light material theme. It won't change the content. It won't change the process. It will only change the appearance. So style versus theme versus yeah, style and theme. So activity class for layout we have view, and for theme we have style. Okay, for layout they will include the style under the view, and for for layout they will include the style under the view, and then they will include the theme under the layout, but they have this style under the theme. Okay, customize the background. So for theme and style, just now like I said, they won't change the content. Instead they will only change the layout. Usually for theme, like I said, it will be color. For style, it will change the way they present the data, but the information or data is still the same. So first, customize the background. So insert a style to this file, themes.xml file. Parent, this one is same like the one example is now parent. Okay, so this is to the theme applied to the application or activity. Okay, so this is the theme. Okay, custom action bar theme. So this is the parent, light dark action bar item name, and then action style. Okay, so this one is how we can customize the background. So usually if you have, okay, for example, you have light and dark mode theme, light and dark mode theme. Okay, so usually we need to set two background, we need to set to two. So like every time the user set or call that function, they just will at the backend process they will go to any to that particular code. Second is apply theme to the entire app or individual activities. Okay, apply theme to the entire app. Usually, okay, usually not all application. Usually, if you set already the theme, it will apply to the whole theme. Okay, not only individual activities. Because for application, of course, they have function or activity. So you have two type here in this example, which is entire app, the whole application or individual activity. One activity only or one patch only. Okay, so here still customize the background. So you can do, so you want to apply to the entire app or individual activities. I don't really know how to do this. I don't really know how to code because I never use this on how to do, on how to apply into individual activities. But for this one, the entire app, it's quite easy. Okay, so this one is the example of dark theme API level 10, the benefit of dark theme. What are the benefit of dark theme? Actually, what are the benefit of dark theme? What do you think the benefit of dark theme? One, what is one? Use less power, easier on the eyes, save energy, contact the eyes, won't hurt eyes, especially to easy to read. Okay, actually, dark theme. Okay, for dark theme, there's no specific reason, but actually the theme, the layout, what's the term just now? In mobile application, style and themes is more to the user UX, user experience, user experience and the UI and US, user interface and the user experience. Okay, this one is actually to tackle the user to engage with the application. Won't hurt your eyes. Yeah, that's one, can be one of the reason. All of your reason that you state here is under the user experience. Okay, if the user have a good user experience with the application, of course they're going to engage with the application. Okay, there's no programming reason behind it. It's more to UI UX purpose. Support dark theme in your application. Like I said, not theme can or have this function. So you need to apply, sorry, you need to implement this function in your application. So app theme, so day and night, that means you have two theme, the dark mode and the light mode. Okay, you need to apply them. But like I said, I'm not sure how to apply the dark mode, for example, dark mode into one activities. I never do that. So review different style and theme. This one too, don't forget to do. And this one, the last part of this chapter, Jetpack Compose. Like I said, Jetpack Compose in the early of this lecture, I said they have like their own library. Okay, we're going to see Jetpack Compose. So Jetpack Compose, it is a toolkit for building Android UI in beta. What is beta? What is beta? Do you know what is beta mode? Have you ever heard? If you go to Google Play, right, they will state sometimes this the development is in which phase. It's not development. It's like, let me search first. It's like a trial, beta testing. Microbyte. Micro. So beta, that means it is not your final product. It is under testing. However, sometimes the application, you may go to Google Play Store, Android, they will publish there to get the feedback from the user. So it is not the final product. So it is a toolkit for building Android UI in beta, not your final product. So describe UI using programming. The dark mode versus light mode got different in battery use. I think no. This one I don't think there's any different in battery use. Good question. I'm not sure too, but I think no because what I did last time. But if you Google, there will be a different. But I don't think. Yeah, they said they will have difference. Have battery in certain scenarios. But that must. Rachel, I want to ask you what is OLED actually? Save if screen is on. Dark mode save. In term of battery, I think it is no, but I'm not sure. I'm not confirmed with my answer. I'm not sure with my answer. But I think again, it won't affect your battery because when I write the coding, I don't remember anything that related to team only. I don't think so. I'm not sure about your question. But if you Google, they said in certain scenario, they will affect your battery. And then Compose manage the UI stats and update. Okay, Jetpack Compose. It is a platform actually. They have their own library. So this one is the example of Jetpack Compose. Okay, this one is the main activity. Super great. This one is the preview, fun greeting, name string. This one is the output. And okay, they only have two patch for Jetpack Compose. However, for Jetpack Compose, it's like a platform. They have their own library. Okay. So the conclusion of this chapter is overview of the UI, create UI containing UI components, create view binding, create data binding, create and style, create and use style and theme, understand the Jetpack Compose beta. That means it is not yet a final product. So that's the end of chapter 2. I hope by next week we can get the material from the CC so that we can proceed with our practical. Because even though I'm not into mobile application, but it is actually quite interesting, especially because it is drag and drop if using Android Studio. I'm not sure yet what tools we are going to use because, like I said, I received no material at all. But if it is Android Studio, then it will be easy for us. So for chapter 2, do you have a question?
Miss, what does the Jetpack Compose beta means? Means it's not still in development.
Hmm. Okay. So this one, right? Jetpack Compose Beta. Okay, beta. If have you ever heard about beta testing? So beta is here they said beta, right? So not only for Jetpack Compose beta, that means it is not yet the final product. Okay, it is still under testing. Okay, if you go to Google, because I've seen a few actually, they state there beta beta testing or something. Yeah, beta. That means that is not the final product yet.
So
It is
means
actually when you
if we implement it, will there be like potential errors? Is that what
yeah
it means?
that's the yeah that's the purpose actually for beta, for example beta testing is for us to get, because sometimes when we do the testing, for example mobile application, let's say I want to develop a mobile application. When I do the testing, I cannot find the error, but when I give to the user can send feedback to the developer. The user can find the error, so it is still not the final product.
Oh, okay.
That's why it is important. Let if you want to develop a mobile application, right? If you want to if you want to develop your mobile application for your FYP, if you want to develop mobile application for your FYP, if it is still not the final product is your last product. Okay, that is your product. If it is still not the last product and you still, I mean, you want to get feedback from the user using your mobile application, you need to start it is still under beta testing. So the user know, check record receipt. Yeah. So the user know that it's not your final product. So it is important to state, even if you go to Google Play, some stated beta. I know some of you is going to develop a mobile application because I already heard so. So for this chapter, do you have question?
So far, no.
If no, if no, then I think we can end our class now. I think we can end our class now. So see you next week. Okay, so thank you everyone.
Okay, thank you.